Hello Pygame enthusiasts, and in this tutorial we will be actually adding in our second platform because this is a two-player game. We want two platforms. So this is actually going to be one of the hardest tutorials yet because we're going to be doing everything without repeating ourselves. So we're going to actually use a for loop, and we're going to use some lists, and yeah, this is going to be great. This may be a bit hard to follow along with because this is some pretty difficult code. But so what we want to do is our general idea for this is, so we have this these two variables. We have platform surface, and we have platform, and we have platform rect. And remember, variables, these are two variables. Oh, what is happening? Oh no. Okay. My screen recording was being a bit weird for a sec. But variables are just boxes. Oops. Variables are just boxes that contain data, and we can put anything we want in this box. Right now, what these are containing is our platform surface is containing our platform surface, and our platform rect is containing our platform rect. So the oh no, you can't. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so right now our platform surface variable is containing the surface that is our platform, and our platform rect is containing our platform rect. So what we can do actually is, instead of just having it contain these values, we can do is we can have two values in it. So platform rect 2. So we can do something like that, and we can modify our code to make it work with this too. And so we can do the same thing with the surface. Platform surface 2. There we go. So so we can make our variables into lists, and in these lists we can put in both of our surfaces and both our rects, which will allow us to control both of the platforms at the same time. So this is going to be pretty challenging because we'll need to do some pretty hard coding. But I think our variable is a bit misrepresentative of what our variable is, because platform 2 surface, I don't think we need the 2 because there's only going to be one of this, and it's going to contain a list. So I'm just going to, oops, I'm going to change the name of this variable to just platform surface. And this is some pretty, bad coding. Like, generally like to kind of think through the names of my variables before I use them. But I wasn't really planning ahead, and we can just change all these names, and I don't think it'll take that long. There we go. So what we want to do is, instead of making platform surface a surface, we can make it a list with surfaces in it. So up here, we're going to make platform surface equal to an empty list, and we do it like that. So now we need to add our base surface to the list. We need to add our surface to the list. So instead of, in this line, instead of making platform surface equal to this to the surface that we made when you loaded in our image, we can append it to it. So if you do not know what appending is, it's just taking a value and just plopping it at the end of a list. So this will this appending action will put this value, our surface, at the end of the list. So now we have a list with one surface in it. So what we can do now is, instead of saying platform surface equals blah blah blah, we can do platform surface 0 equals that, because we are targeting the 0th index of our list. And lists are kind of weird with how they work like this. And if I have like a list to true blue, that rhymes. Wow. Instead of like the natural, oh, this is the first index, this is the second, and this is the third, it's actually kind of different in program. This is the 0th index, this is the first index, this is the second index, because it lists and tuples. The indexes start from 0 and then move up. So let's move back to this. Okay. So we can add our 0th index at the end of this. So this too, because we are going to be scaling our the 0th index in our platform surface, and we can do the same here. So I'm sorry if I went through that kind of quickly, but I'll try to explain what it is now. So our end result is a list containing the surface that we want, our surface that is our platform surface. So this right here is declaring the platform surface variable as a list, as an empty list with 0 values in it. This is appending our base, our totally stock or stock surface that it's pygame.image.load, which is loading in this platform.png image as a surface, and it's appending it to the end of the list. So it's just adding it into the list. Right here, this is saying, okay, so take the 0th index in our platform surface list, which is our surface, and scale it. So scale it to 150 by 150. And this line of code right here is saying, take the 0th index in our platform surface list, which is again our surface, and rotate it 90 degrees. And what we get in the end again is a list with our desired surface in it. And that doesn't feel like much of a change, but we now have the power to put more of these surfaces onto the list. And we can use that to do a lot of good stuff. And we need to do essentially the same thing with the rects. So we need to declare platform2rect as an empty list. And right here, we need to, instead of making it equal to the getRect, we need to, I spelled append wrong. We need to append it onto the list. So if I just put these in parentheses, there we go. And so now, again, what we get is a list with our rect in it. But instead of, oh, I forgot about this. Again, we don't want to get the rect from platform surface. That won't work. Platform surface is a list. We want to get it from the 0th index of platform surface. And that should work. But if we were to run this right now, we would get an error. Let's see. Look at that. Platform rect is not defined, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh. Actually, that's not an error I was expecting. Remember, it's not called platform2rect anymore, it's called platform rect. There we go. So now, real this time, if we were to run this, we would get a different error that wasn't actually intentional. There we go. So screen.lit, it says argument 1 must be pygame.surface, not a list. And so what that's saying is we're trying to do all this stuff with our surfaces and rects, but they're not surfaces and rects anymore. They're lists, and in those lists are surfaces and rects. So we need to change our code here, our function, to accommodate for that. So right here we need to do screen.lit, and we need to specify that this is the 0th index of both of them. Oops. Not background surface. We do not need to do that for background surface. Background surface is our background. We need to do it like this. So, yeah. So now we have that, and it will probably, well, no, it, actually, let's see if it'll work. I don't think so. I don't think it'll work. Oh, is that working? Okay, there we go. So it failed as soon as I tried to, it worked at first, but it failed as soon as I tried to move it around. And that's because we need to also edit this function up here to accommodate for the fact that they're lists now. So this is actually quite simple. Instead of, because this is using a platform rect variable, and it's just assuming this is a rect. But if we use a for loop in for rect in platform, well, actually, what we need to do is we need to for index in. And now what we need to do is we need to have a loop that generates this index variable for every for every single I'm sorry, for every single value in the platform rect variable. And so I'm just going to write this code, and then I'll just explain what it does after. So range and then length of platform rect, and then we need to indent this to make sure it's in the for loop. So what this does is it generates a variable called index, and what this does is it says, so take the range of, this is saying find how many values are in the platform rect, in the platform rect list. So find how many values are in the platform rect list, and we want to loop this amount of code that many times, and for each loop the index variable will count up. So this may be a bit confusing, but just stick with me. And so now since index is counting up, we can use that to actually specify which index in the list we are referring to. So we need to do our brackets to identify an index, and then in there we put the index variable, and I'm just going to copy that and paste it over here. So I'm going to explain this again because I think I went through that a bit fast, but this is saying, so the platform rect list, the list called platform rect, which will contain all of our platform rects. So that list, take that list and find the length of it, find how many values are in platform rect, and repeat this line of code that many times, and index will just count up through that, and yeah, so that'll work. And so we can use the index variable to actually specify which index in our list we are targeting. So if I didn't screw up, which I probably did, this actually might work. Let's run this. No errors. Okay, looks like it's working so far. Let's try to press our keys. Look at that! It's working great. It is working amazing. And so now, all we need to do is make some slight modifications, and this will work for both of our platforms. We can add our second platform easily. So let's just stop this and yeah. So let's add our second surface to our platform surface list. So right here we can do. We want to add something to the end of our platform surface list, and if you remember, the function for adding something to an end of the list is append. So we want to do platform surface dot append and then parentheses. So we're appending something on the end of platform surface, just like we did up here. So we could do this again and load in our image again, but we already have that. We already have a surface, and all we need to do is duplicate it and rotate it 180 degrees, because the two platforms are identical. We just need to duplicate it. So what we can do is we can do just that. So we can say platform surface, and then the 0th index, because that's where our surface is, and that would work, but we need to rotate it 180 degrees. And if you remember, the command for that is pygame.transform.rotate. And I actually might have forgot the syntax for this. What is it? Okay, if I look back up here, you just pass the surface and the number of degrees you want to rotate it. So I want to rotate this. There's the surface, and we want to rotate it 180 degrees. So yeah, that'll work. And we need to also get it rect. So we can just actually copy this line of code right here, and then we can paste it, and then we can change let's I'm going a bit fast, so let's do this part slowly. So let's go through this line of code. So this line of code is saying take the 0th index of our platform surface list and get its rect and append that rect onto the end of our platform rect list. I said rect a lot just there. So what we can do is we can just do this exact same line of code, but instead of getting the rect of platform surface 0th index, we can get it from platform surface first index, because that is where our second second surface is, our second platform. And also, instead of 550 100, let's put this at, I don't know, 0 100, because this is going to be all the way on the left instead of all the way on the right. We don't actually have much time left. Okay, so and then we also need to blit it onto the screen down here. So we can just copy this line of code right here and just change these to ones. And so what this is doing, instead of this line of code right here, is saying take the 0th index of platform surface and blit it on to wherever the 0th index of platform rect is. So it's saying the 0th platform surface, blit that onto the 0th platform rect. And right here, you can say, take the first platform surface and blit it onto the first platform rect. So let's run this and see if it works. Let's see if I get an error. And wow, it looks like that. It is working great. Look at that. I'm pressing the up and down arrow and they're both moving. So that is actually working really well. All we need to do is add some code to, make sure they don't separate the two rects and make sure they don't both move when I press the up and down arrow keys. I think we're going to use W and S for the left one, and then up and down for the right one, the keys. I think what we can do is we can copy this and we can paste this, and we can and so actually hold on, let's forget that happened. Let's I'm so unprofessional with this, but what we can do is we can say if index, our variable that counts up, if you remember, if index equals 0, and then we can indent this. And so this is saying if this is our 0th rect, if this is the right one, then what we need to do is we need to execute this line of code. So we need to move it up and down based on the up and down arrow keys. And then we can just copy this. And then we can paste this. Oops, there we go. And then if this is equal to 1, we don't want to check K up and K down. We want to check K, W, and K, S. So we want to check the W and S keys instead of the up and down keys. And in theory, if we run this, this should work. Oh no. Pygame module has no attribute K_W. I think that might be the invalid syntax for the W and S keys. So let's Google it. This is actually my first time Googling things in a tutorial. This is going to be fun. But let's see. Pygame keyed down. And here's the Pygame documentation. And if I go down here, there should be a list of all of the keys and all of their syntax. Let's scroll down to W and S. Oh no, I capitalized it wrong. W is supposed to be uncapitalized. Okay, let's change that. And I suppose S is going to be 2, right? Where's S? Where is S? S is also uncapitalized. Let's go back and okay, W not capitalized and K_S uncapitalized. There we go. And look at that. So let's press the up and down arrow keys, and it's only moving this one. And then pressing the W and S keys, it only moves this one. But this is also messy. So remember, the whole point of doing this is so we don't repeat ourselves. But look at this, I'm repeating myself right here. I'm repeating myself. And we don't want to do that. So what we can do is we can refactor our code. So we can change our code to make it more neat without actually affecting its functionality. So instead of just writing this whole line of code again, we can undo all of that. So instead of checking for, okay, actually I should explain what we're going to do before I actually do it. So right here, all we're really changing when we copied and paste this is this right here, k underscore w and k underscore s. Why don't we just generate a variable that is Pygame dot why don't we just generate a variable based on which rect we're doing and then put that variable in here. So so we can have a variable called, I don't know, if I delete all of this and unindent this, because Python is fussy about that. If we generate a variable called, what should we call it? Key underscore checking. So if we generate a variable called key underscore checking, we can set this to k underscore up, k underscore down, k underscore w, or k underscore s, all the keys, based on which rect we're talking about. And actually, this will actually need to be a list with two variables in it, because remember, there's two variables for each rect. There's the key that you need to move it up and the key you need to move it down. So we're just going to make key checking an empty list right there, and we need to have some if statements right here. So so we need to check which rect we're talking about, and we can check that with the index. So index, if index is 0, then key checking is equal to, and then we need to make a list, and then we need to do, so then we need to put in the two keys that we're talking about with our one on the right, because the 0th index is the one on the right. So what we need to put in is something like pygame.k underscore up, because that is the key that we use to move it up, and then pygame.k underscore down. And so now that'll work. And same thing right here. Oops, I need to, what's happening? Okay, so, and if the index is equal to 1, then it will be equal to k underscore w and k underscore s. So this is working great. We're not really repeating ourselves except for here, but that's like a little tiny thing. And yeah, this is going to work great. And we just need to now, instead of passing them our actual keys right here, we need to pass the variable. So we want to pass it key underscore key checking, and then we want to pass it the 0th index of key checking, because that's where we put whichever key we need to do to put it up. And then instead of and then I'm going to copy that, and then in place of the down key we can paste this. So brief review, what this is doing is saying is declaring a list called key checking, and these are the keys that we're checking. And this is saying if this is our first one, then we're setting the keys to W and S, and if this is the second one, we're setting this to up and down. And down here, we're just reflecting that. So we're saying we're saying check whatever keys are in this variable, in the key checking variable. And hopefully, if we run this, this might work. Oh no, key checking is not defined. I think we need to actually declare our key checking variable not in a function, and then pass it in as a global value. Key checking. There we go. And if we run this again, hopefully, it's still not defined. What happened? Well, I guess I misspelled it here. Oh, checking. That's not how you spell checking. Checking. I think we actually did not need to do the global thing, maybe. We do not need to do checking. We need to do checking. Key checking. I called the variable two different things right here. Okay, so hopefully if I fix those syntax errors, then it should work. Let's see. Press the up and down arrow keys. This is moving. And press the W and S keys, and this one's moving. Wow, that is working great. So you see the power here. So if I wanted to change anything about this, all I need to do, like say if I wanted to reverse the two things, I could just change these two things, plus equals with minus equals, and then boom, I don't need to go around hassling and finding a bunch of things. I just need to change one little thing, but I'm going to change that back because I do not want that. Yeah, and this is a mark of some very neat code. And like, we could make this even neater. We could go super paranoid, because technically right here, I'm repeating myself. Technically, I could put an else statement right here instead of an if statement, because if it's not 0, it's got to be 1. But I think there's kind of a point where you kind of don't need to do anymore. It's clear enough. But fun challenge. So yeah, let's I think that is well enough for this episode. We've gone over 30 minutes. That is insane. And I think my time is almost up. I have like 10 minutes left. But wow, if you got through this tutorial, good job. Because this one was a hard one. So hard. And this also marked a milestone because I Googled something for the first time in these tutorials. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much if you watched this whole thing. And I will see you in the next tutorial, which will hopefully be a bit easier than this one.